It's Thursday, January 12th. Thank you so much for being here on my channel, Everyday Talk 24/7. Welcome. We're going to continue looking at Psalm 2. And the title for this video tonight is The Battle for Your Heart. The battle for my heart. And this psalm talks about that battle. Let me read the first two verses again. First, the second and third verses again. The kings of earth take their stand. The rulers of earth gather together against the Lord and against his anointed one. That's Jesus. Let us break their chains, they say, and throw off their fetters. Throw off their cords, the things that bind us. This describes the battle for the heart. For my heart and for your heart. Psalm 2 is talking about the rulers of this world. Not just the ones who sit in places of power and government, but the ones who have to do with our minds. The ones who want to educate us. The ones who want to tell us how to think. The ones who want to tell us how to live or not live. Remember, as we talked about earlier, the kingdoms we're talking about, they shift from primarily geopolitical entities with formal kings and queens and princes and rulers and all that, to now we're talking about the battle for the mind, the kingdom of the heart. We talked about a couple nights ago. Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world." It's different. Because otherwise, my servants will be fighting to protect me, to keep me from being crucified. But he says, now my kingdom is different. As we looked in Revelation, the kingdom of God is the rule of God in the hearts of men. We are a kingdom. The battle is for our hearts. So yes, the battle still remains on a big national stage where governments and all that come into play. In the United States, we see that particularly right now, where we're trying very hard to throw off the rule of God and live our own way and not be constrained at all by the things of God. But we want to honor ourselves, define whatever we want for ourselves. Make education about what I want instead of what brings honor to God. But more importantly now, we shift that down to the heart, to your heart, to my heart. The theme of all the world's leaders, whether they be political, whether they be in education, whether they be in whatever form it is, if they're not fully devoted to a biblical worldview, then what they're devoted to is this mindset in verse 3. Let's break the chains. Let's throw off their fetters. What they're talking about is let's break the chains of God. Let's break the chains of his son Jesus and live the life the way that we want. And what the scriptures tell us, when we do that, we exchange what we think is bondage to God and slavery to God on the wrong sense, and we think we gain freedom. But how's that working out for around us? We live in a culture that thinks we can be free to do anything. How are we doing with that? We're more and more enslaved to our desires, our lusts, our passions. We're filled with anxiety. We're filled with worry. We're discouraged. We're depressed. We have more and more freedom, more and more stuff, more and more things. And everything around us is just swirling down to discouragement. The theme all around us is this: break off these chains of God, these rules. These rules that tell us how we can think, how we should live our life, how we should how we should engage sexually, how we should stand up for ourselves. All those things. They're following what the psalmist is talking about here. Let us break their chains. Let us get rid of the chains of God and his Son, so we can be free to live life the way we want. But as David says in Psalm 19, the law of God makes us free. Not the rules, not the legalism, not the performance, because you could never perform anything to make God happy with you. That's what Jesus did. But the idea that God knows how we can live this life because he designed it. He's encouraging us to live life in a way that will be a blessing to us. The beautiful words of Moses in Deuteronomy, where after he describes and lays out the laws of God to the people, he says, these words are not just idle words for you. These words are your life. And by them they will bless you and your children and give you a life that counts. It has meaning, that has purpose. Even if there's pain and suffering, you will know the joy of walking after God. It's a hard subject for me to talk about because it gets so lost in all the misconceptions about what it means to follow God. But just know this, the theme of the world around you, the political leaders, the leaders who are not trusting God in the areas of education and psychology or whatever it is, they have one common purpose. Let us throw off the chains of God and his Son. Let's do it our way. And we'll add God in as we see fit. Now, as we're going to see tomorrow, God flat out rejects that and gives a warning not to go there. But for now, let's realize we are engaged in a pitched, strong battle for our hearts. By forces that want to pull us away from God and promise freedom, and all we get is more bondage, more depression, more anxiety, more worry, more stress, more relational disasters. That's the picture of our country right now. It's the picture of so much of the world's civilization right now. We're exchanging the truth of God for the lie that says that these directions of God, these loving directions of God, are killing us. It's just the opposite. That's the warning that Psalm 2 is giving us. Everything around us is saying, throw off the direction of God. Throw off his commands because it's choking you. That's a lie that Satan has been going and telling since the garden. The things that the people around us are telling us are killing us are the things that give us life. And their track record, like I said, is not one to be believed because they're not getting better. Our country's not getting better. Our culture's not getting better. We're more worried, more stressed, more filled with angst and anger. God says, take refuge in him. Look carefully at these opening verses of Psalm 2. And tomorrow we'll take a look at what God says in response to this thing. Hey, let's throw off these cords of God and do our own thing. We'll look at what he says tomorrow. Until then, you have a great evening. Check us out everydaytalks247.com. If you haven't subscribed, turn on post notifications. These videos will come right to you. Check out our Everyday Talk coffee mugs where God doesn't take coffee breaks. Cool reminder. Again, so great to be with you tonight. And give me some feedback on these things. It's so important for us. And Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.